You're listening to an episode recorded during the time Innovation Fuel was part of University Canada West. We are proud and grateful for the work we've done together, and we want to thank the university for being in our podcast. We are now excited to continue the journey of Innovation Fuel into its next chapter. Thanks for listening. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Innovation Fuel, the podcast that brings you fantastic stories from entrepreneurs and key industry professionals. I am Dave Kiran.
And I am Adele Farhadian. We are educators, entrepreneurs, and your hosts. Innovation Fuel is our weekly business podcast brought to you by University Canada West. Each week, we explore diverse business models, entrepreneur journeys, experts' insight, and managerial challenges, and how companies stay agile and innovative during COVID-19. Check out our episodes at www.ucanwest.ca/innovationfuel.
Oh, Galari. Again, we're here to our new episode. What are we talking about today?
Do you remember Ingrid Paulini?
Yes, of course. Yeah, the document management software.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. She told us about the client's concerns about security, and I was thinking about, as a client, that what is important for me as a security is, and I was thinking about as a small or entrepreneurs in the IT and see that how can I be secure myself? What are the criteria that I have to look at it and make sure that I am secure, not just for myself, for my reputation, for my branding, to attract more clients.
And I guess you got to ask the question is, where do I spend the money and what risks do I take? Because, I guess if we go down the world of security, you could be, cybersecurity, there's a lot of it. So where do you start and where do you end?
Exactly. And how to sell your services as an IT security person to someone and tell you that, okay, what is my return of investment? So because it's expensive, right? IT security is not cheap, it's expensive, but you absolutely need it, but you don't know what you need it and you don't know what you get out of it. Yeah. No,
I think you're right on. Like, I just say where it is that element. It's like, what do you get out of it? It's like, and where do you go with it?
Oh, we brought an IT security expert, and she is the consultant, and she is working with a lot of big companies, large companies, small, medium-sized companies, and help them to secure the ITs, RT infrastructures, data centers, and all of that one.
Welcome to Innovation Fuel. Galari, who do we have with us today?
So you have my sister today.
Whoa!
Yay! So,
what?
It's
your sister.
Awesome sisters.
Can you give us more information than that?
That it's, if you have some awesome sister like me, please join this podcast. So welcome, Adele Farhadian.
Adele. Jeez. Okay, so I have to clear this up. It's not like she doesn't know my name. She does. My real name is Delaram. And she always says, just go with Delaram. It's much better, much nicer, blah, blah, blah. But eventually my name evolved into Del, and then people hearing, oh, is that an Adele? And I'm like, yeah, go for it. So now I'm an Adele. It just happened to be this way. But my family, obviously, they still call me Delaram. But in the industry, I'm more known as Adele, if I'm known at all.
I'm so confused. I don't know, Adele, I need to know a little bit more about you. I want to share some of that greatness with this great audience we have. Can you tell us a little bit about you and your background and who you are and what's exciting about you?
Yeah, sure. Well, there is a lot of stuff to talk about, and especially when I open my mouth, I never tend to really close it. My name is Adele /Delaram Farhadian. I live in Vancouver, BC, and I've been in security for, it's been since 2005. So it's been around like 16 years. and, had a very long journey to get here. And I never knew that I'm getting here. So, it started from business and studying my MBA. And during the MBA, we had, because it was an e-commerce MBA, e-MBA, we had a lot of courses that had, technology involved. And security was just one of them. And, I just kind of fell in love with it. But then I never knew that I'm going to go into it till our professor said, oh, guys, like this is going to be the boom of your generation. And, there's going to be a lot of money. And then I'm like, ding, 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 money, money, money. So I'm like, yeah, okay. Sounds like this is a good idea. So, and I don't know how much you know about like how you get into the university in Iran, but there's a big exam that it's a 1 in a year opportunity. And I really sucked at that exam really badly. So, I just got into business that way. I was supposed to go to engineering and stuff, just like Hillary, but like she did much better on that exam. I was like, ugh. I was like, yeah. So then I just, went to business. And because of all that, security stuff, I was like, okay, maybe that's a better way to get back to what my passion was originally. And so I started back to security. And the thing is with security, there are 12 domains. Every one of them you can be a master in and just know a little bit about the rest of the areas. The way I started security is I started with the very high level governance, compliance stuff that actually touches all the 12 domains. But it doesn't go so deep into them, and it's not super technical. So I started everything backwards. Usually, let's say you're a network admin and you go to the security of networking, and then you master that, and then you come out and go to the governance and bigger stuff. Or like, let's say development, you are a developer and then you go to security development and then go back up. But I did it all the way around. Like I just came back like from governance and compliance and business side of security into now more technical stuff. So when I say now, it means like several years now, but it was, my journey was backwards and I could see everybody going this way. I'm like,
so, but was that journey purposely planned, or was that journey sort of, you kind of just went, okay, I think I need to be over here, and then kind of went with the flow of it?
So it wasn't really planned at all. So that's a really good question. It wasn't planned. I just wanted to get into security. I didn't know how. And my professor couldn't really help. So he said, just research some courses. So not really grades, but like courses and stuff, and see, if there's anything that, that you can understand first, and if there is any prerequisites and stuff. And if it's not, then maybe you can start there. So I researched a little bit. And back then, I kept it was year 2007. No, 2005. So it was just right before 2005, 2004. So it was probably 2004. And then I started, okay, so if I researched a little bit and I came up with these courses that were done in UAE, Emirates, United Arab Emirates. And because Iran was like a little bit, like we didn't have so many courses from the other countries, and like global courses, right? Globally well-known courses. So I went to this. I found this, and I was like, okay, so it kind of fits my budget. I have to go to UAE, which is awesome because I have family there. And then I was like, okay, so it doesn't have any prerequisite. So probably we'll be okay. And then that was an auditor course. It was ISO 27001 auditor course. And I became the auditor of that ISO standard, which is a security standard. Yeah. And so that's how I got into it. So it wasn't really planned. And my browsing and Google searching skills wasn't as good as it is today back in 2004. You can guess, like probably it was the same for a lot of other people too. So, so it's not like I had a lot of options either. So I wanted to stay close to Iran or even in Iran, like have a course in Iran. But I came up with this. But then a year after, they started the course in Iran. So, yeah.
So you took the short courses to get your security, and then you start to work to build your career around that one. Am I right?
Yeah.
So we just because we want to a little bit explain more about to our audience that what is your job? What is your day job look like? So what kind of tasks you're dealing with?
Good question. So that really depends on, the kind of customer I have at the time and the kind of requirement they've got, right? So a lot of times I have I'm more like a security SME on some projects. And that's where I go as staff aug for staff augmentation, right? Where, I fill in as a full-time contractor, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday type of contractor. And I fill in for somebody else, or it's just a contracting role, but it's full time. Right now, I'm doing that for BC Hydro, and that's one of the things I do is that I'm the security SME on the projects. What does that mean? Is that from the very beginning of the project in BC Hydro, we have different phases, project phases: identification, definition, implementation. And then post-implementation goes to production, goes to operations and stuff. And so from the very beginning, I'm involved in the project as a designer, as an architect, they call it. So it's like IT security architect. So really my role there is an IT security solution architect. So IT security architect is a little bit different than IT security solution architect. I don't want to go into too much details there. But anyway, so I'm the security SME on projects. And then also I have another role within BC Hydro where I'm the NERC compliance SME. So NERC is a North American energy security standard that, all North Americans have to comply with if they are in energy. And it's very, very, very complicated. It's one of the complicated ones. And so I'm the SME on that, where I have to kind of understand if any project that is going on in BC Hydro has any NERC impact. Because for compliance, what you want to do is keep the compliance environment very, very small so that it doesn't get very expensive, and then keep the rest of corporate environment, corporate network separate. So there is a lot of stuff that doesn't touch this, right? So if it does, and if it does make an impact, then that's where I have to understand how much of an impact that is and what I'm going to do with it. And if everything needs to be compliant with NERC now. So throughout the project, I only come in wherever there is an impact, and I tell them, how they need to comply with NERC, and then I actually have to get evidence from them to see that that was actually done. So then I have to collect evidence, and then there's a lot of liability involved. There's a lot of legality involved, and then we go from there. Then there are other customers I've got that are like smaller projects that I can do sometimes take care of like in the evenings or weekends. So those projects tend to be like a smaller scope that is deliverable based, and you just go do the work and get out. So usually they tend to be like penetration tests or vulnerability assessments. So yes, in security, we have ethical penetration tests, ethical hacking. You have to be certified in that to be able to do it. you can also do it without being certified, but usually like the clients need you to be certified and have your ethics signed and all that kind of stuff, right? So that has some other type of work. And then I've got other projects with like other contracts where I do a risk assessment or a gap assessment, security gap assessment, and I give them, at the end of it, I give them a roadmap, as in what needs to be done to eliminate or transfer or reduce the risk to some extent, whatever their acceptable level is, and then what's the roadmap to kind of grow their security practice based on their security posture. Yeah, these are like some of the stuff I do.
I just have one question, because can you explain it in very simple language that what is the differences between threat, vulnerability, and risk?
Yeah, very good question. It's always very, very confusing, and still like whoever tells you still may sound like still very confusing. So I try my best. So a vulnerability, and I'm going to say it in some terminology that's going to make sense, but it might not really sound so good. So feel free to censor me all you want later. But that really makes sense. So a vulnerability, a lot of people, like even in English, right? You think of it like, as soon as somebody thinks of a vulnerability, they think of a hole, right? They think of a wall that has holes. And so it's vulnerable. Stuff can get into it, right? If anything gets into it, let's say there are a bunch of holes on this wall. And then, all kinds of insects, animals, whatever can get into it. Or a kid, whatever. I'm not judging. So, right? And then let's say a type of insect, right? Or mold or whatever can eat up at the wall, right? The vulnerability is really the hole. That insect is your threat. And the risk is losing this wall. Especially if it is a weight holding wall. So the weight holding wall, why do I say it? Is because the value of what you're trying to protect, of your asset, which is that wall, in our scenario, is very, very important. Because if the value of that, let's say it's not a weight holding wall, right? The house isn't going to fall if it falls. That's one thing. Then I may only repair it, or I may just forget about it. What else would I do with it? Yeah, let's just say these are, right? So these are my risk management solutions. So I may repair it or I may forget about it, right? Let it fall and just have an open wall here or open space here, right? So then let's say the repair cost me, I don't know, $2,000, right? And then then that if that's the solution, then it has to match my budget, right? If it goes beyond that, then it doesn't really matter for me, and I have to let it go, right? So that kind of helps me figure out what type of solution I want to have.
So Adele, let's go further with that, because I think one of the biggest challenges that businesses have is how much do I spend on security? And some of them really struggle with this because and yes, I want to protect my customer, but I only have so much resources. And so how do I balance out that finality?
Especially for small businesses or startups, they really have to show the security of their assets to their investors. So, and they don't have money or budget for spend on the security.
Yeah. So let's answer one piece at a time. So because small, medium businesses, the way I see it is very different than the rest. This challenge is still, applies to everywhere. How far do I go with my security solution? Of course, everybody has a certain level of fear and that, what's going to happen to my business, what's going to happen to my assets, my reputation, which is really not really quantified. all that jazz. So that's something that you always need to discuss with your customers ahead of time to understand. We call it risk appetite or risk acceptance level. So we kind of have to gauge that and say, how much can you lose and still be in business? Which sites can you lose and still be in business? Which database can you lose and still be in business? Which competitors can have your data and still have your business? And that gets a lot of these questions gets into something we call business continuity planning, which has something called a business impact assessment in it. So you have to do business impact assessment. The business impact assessment tells you how much impact can a business really tolerate before it says, okay, I'm calling it a day, I'm dead, right? And then that really tells you a little bit about their risk appetite. And then that tells you about, okay, what's my plan to keep the business, to help the business continue if this stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is something else coming up called disaster recovery planning. And that really helps a lot more with stuff that is unthinkable and it's mostly natural. So, for example, flooding for your data center, or another disaster, I don't know, earthquake, whatever. So then you have to think about all the disasters. Like, it's not just a security event, but it's a disaster. Its magnitude is much worse, right? So then at that point, you can plan all of this. So that's where it will shape up this bigger risk management program.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for small businesses, Giller, you asked, so I had some experience with small business. Most of my experience obviously was enterprises, because they're the ones that really care. They have something at stake. They really hire you. They have the money. They want to pay that money because they see the hidden ROI of security. And that's a really interesting topic, I guess, on its own, that security has only hidden ROI. And that's very, very hard to discuss. But small businesses, I had some experience with them, and I still do. And that's exactly what you said, Giller, where they may not really care about security so much today, right? You care about it when they want to sell, or when they want to get investors, or when they're going for angel investors, or they want to actually sell. And that's where they really care about security and the whole maturity of their technology, especially with more and more SaaS products coming up into the market. SaaS stands for software as a service. So the more and more they're coming up into the market, you're seeing technologies getting bought or having investors and getting their due diligence assessment done. So that's where they go, I have to think about this, I have to think about that. Or where they grow, once they grow to a very bigger product where big, companies like IBM or whatever become their client. And at that point, the bigger the client, the bigger their security ask is going to be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or government is going to come and become their client. And they're like, no, you need to have this, you need to have that, and why don't you have whatever? So,
well, I just had the one question on that element, because I think that's the thing. Like you said, you're a small, medium-sized business. You're going to join up with a government or an IBM or something like that. You're going to do some business with them. And inevitably in the contract, doesn't it not talk to them about like what level of security they're going to need to have as a small, medium-sized operator in order to do business? And wouldn't that be a go, no-go?
Yeah, exactly. But then sometimes that go, no-go isn't that quick, right? Sometimes they give them some leeway and they say, okay, so I'm going to give you 3 months, come back to me. And then 3 months, everybody is going to scramble around, make some money, pay some money to this security consultant and tell him or her that, get this done now. I need it now because I have some client. Sometimes they give a very good discount to the client and say, can you please buy into it already? So I have your money and I can spend on it. So so there are multiple strategies, and I worked that out with some of the customers I have, where I was doing security for them so that they can actually sell the product better to their client or sell the company or whatever. And then so we thought about some strategies like that, because when it's something like this, usually they don't have so many competitors, right? Because the other bigger companies are willing to wait. They're willing to get that and get that discount, so and pilot it maybe on them. So they have they probably don't have a lot of options themselves, and I see that mostly with SaaS products that are new. It's a new idea, and then the clients just go okay, I'm gonna give you some space too, but I do want to stick with you unless something else comes around till then. But I haven't really seen that so much.
So what is your suggestion for a small businesses or a startup that want to secure themselves? Do you go and do the vulnerability assessment or penetration test? So which one do you recommend, and based on their budget?
So definitely, even if not a startup, even if not SMB, even if, a big ass enterprise, still, I usually recommend a vulnerability assessment versus a penetration test. The reason is penetration test involves 2 steps. The first step is the vulnerability assessment. The second step is exploiting those vulnerabilities that you found in the first steps. So then there is a reason, although you may say, oh, okay, so seems like you're going above and beyond with the penetration test. So why don't you recommend that? The reason is usually when it's a penetration test, usually they don't give you so much access. Okay, we call it a black box. Okay, so a black box is that you just go in, you have a contract, you come out. You don't know anything about their architecture. You don't know anything about their previous penetration test results. You don't know their policies, procedures. You don't know the type of assets they have, the type of, technologies they're already using. You don't know anything. It's like black box, right? So then you spend all your engagement time that they have budgeted for you to understand them, learn them, and try to figure out, oh, okay, so where are those holes, right? And what is this wall? What is it made of? Who made it? The person who made it, were they good enough? Did they have good reputation? Did they not? Does the wall already have holes? Maybe somebody has painted over the hole, but still there is stuff, right? So then you keep going back at it and start poking at places that you don't even know exist. So you're spending all of their money trying, right? And then so it may not get anywhere. A lot of times it does get to places. You can find stuff, but it's very minimal. You cannot really dig in, right? But with a vulnerability assessment, it's different. They give you access. They give you, they may actually, give you a VPN access, or they may actually let you, implement your own virtual machine into their environment and start scanning from there and start, poking from inside out. It's very different, right? And they may even give you, the credentials to their assets so that you can actually log in and you can actually say, okay, I did log in and I found these stuff on your what servers, right? And so you can actually look at configuration. You can actually run commands on locally on the machine where it can give you a lot more, right? So it's a better bang for the customer's buck. But it all goes back to educating your customer. because if the customer doesn't really know, they can't make the right decision. Sometimes it's a compliance request. So it's a compliance checkbox, like, for example, PCI, which is a payment card industry security standard, that it's for your credit cards to safeguard your credit cards that any merchant is using. The merchants need to have ongoing vulnerability assessments and ongoing third-party penetration tests, and it has to be third-party. So yes, there are some compliance mandates. A lot of times what I noticed is that the customers don't know that the vulnerability assessment and penetration tests are different, and they think of the penetration test as a vulnerability test, the vulnerability assessment. And the other thing to think about is that the penetration test, because you're going blind, may have a lot of operational impact on the actual assets that you're scanning. So if it has operational impact and you educate your customer, they may say, oh, no, that's not what I want. And don't give me like time and like downtime. I don't want, denial of service. I want my service to be running for my customers and whatever all the time, 24/7, blah, blah, blah. And I only want you to test like, 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. so that I don't have so much impact. And if there is slight chance that even the vulnerability scan, which can happen, you're going to have an impact, I want it to be done then. So I still have like 5 to 7 to fix it. Till like 7 a.m., my customers are going to start it back. So
Adele, that's really interesting. And I love it comes back to that risk assessment. I guess it's the level of risk you're willing to take. Now, I really want to go back to that parked car you brought up before. You parked that car before when we started talking about that. Can you bring us back to that in our conversation here?
Yeah, so that was the hidden ROI that I was going to talk about, because that's really interesting. And it's always a challenge for me. So if your audience can, comment somewhere down below or whatever, click subscribe or something. And really tell me how else I can explain this. Or maybe you guys can also help me and brainstorm this. Is that I tell because my clients are like, okay, so you're going to charge me, let's say, 20 grand over the next 2 months. And you're working for whatever hours, right? So yes, Mr. Customer, how am I going to see it actually help me? And I need to pitch this to my board too. So pitch it for me. So so the thing is, if I do my job well and you have ongoing assessments because you have ongoing changes and technology has ongoing changes. So even if I do a good job at a time, it expires very, very, very quickly. So you better do this ongoingly or have in-house security people who can help you, stuff like that, right? So, but let's say all of this is good. So I do my job well, you have enough money, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, because everything is good, I can't tell you, if there was a threat out there, they could, we successfully dismiss them and block them, and we are successful at it. So yes, there are products out there that can tell you, and it can do that for you. But there is still a way to bypass those products and still have a way to say, oh yeah, your firewall was really, really good at a time, but then something happened. There's a vulnerability with that firewall, and somebody exploited that firewall. So the firewall thinks everything's good. I didn't let anybody in, but it did. So how can I show you, if we are doing everything well, how can I show you that there was something really bad happening, but then you never know.
So insurance, right? You assure them that's nothing happening to you.
Yes,
but
you can never do that, right? You can never do that.
Yeah, it's always
it goes back to a lawyer and a client. Can the lawyer always say, and, we're going to trial, but I'm going to win. Like 100%, 100%. No, like I wouldn't trust that lawyer if the lawyer tells me that, right? Like, I don't know. Like, I think if they're already gone to trial, then probably he's not, not that he's not that good, but there's a chance that we're going to lose in the trial, right? Because we already lost the hearing. Or let's say it's a doctor and going, like a surgeon, right? Going to surgery. Surgery is a big deal, right? Even like a nose job that is very, very common in Iran, and like every other doctor has done a nose job now, and they've done it a million times. Still, there is risk of aneurysm, of whatever. Like something can happen, and you can lose so much blood or whatever else can. I can think of blood because I'm not a doctor. I'm just like blood.
but it does speak to, Adele, it does speak to the vulnerabilities of anything. No matter what you do, no matter how much effort you put into something, there's still going to be vulnerabilities. But what we can do is we can reduce the risk. And I think that's where the return on investment comes from, is that, hey, if I didn't do this and I had a data breach, what's the cost of that data breach? Like, that data breach could go on for years and years and years. I could be paying someone's, security bill because of that data breach, and all because I didn't engage your services to the full availability of what I could do.
Yes, very good, very, very good. You've been listening.
No, I think that we have a very good case for our students to say, okay, go pitch, find an ROI for IT security and send it to Delaram and see that's what she's responded.
Please.
It can be a good case for our students. Thank you, Delaram.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, please. Like, it would be really, really much appreciated. So the thing is, the risk, what you were saying, which I got me very excited, Dave. So I was thinking that, yes, this is very, very true. But a lot of times, this discussion I have is with smaller clients that don't have so much money. Okay, so, or budget is like thought of and calculated to like cents. So now with these guys, they don't have so much money to do the business impact assessment, to do the proper risk appetite and their risk acceptance level. So much like I still have to do it. Like, I can't really say that it's super concrete, right? And the other issue with the risk assessment is that, as you know, there's quantitative and there's qualitative, right? A lot of stuff is only qualitative. So it's hypothetical. It's very, very hypothetical, right? So trusting that is a leap of faith for them, right? That I'm thinking my reputation is worth this much. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, like, who knows, right? So yeah, that kind of stuff is all the hypotheticals, I guess, makes the ROI hidden. And to some extent is because, like, we just agree to see something that doesn't exist.
So the challenge is out there, class out there. We've got a challenge here. Let's find some ROI for Adele here. So Adele, we always like to give our guests the last sort of word of anything we didn't ask you, any question or any bit of advice you'd like to share with our audience.
And because audience is mostly students, I think that I really came in my security career the way that I didn't want. And I wouldn't want for anybody I'm mentoring. So not that I wouldn't want it for anybody, like, but if I would understand that person the way I wanted somebody to understand me and kind of guide me, I would say it differently. I would tell her to do something differently at the Adele at the time, right? I would direct her to some other stuff to get into security from. I guess what I'm suggesting here or recommending, if anybody is in my shoes at the time now, I would say talk to, make cold calls. It takes you places that you cannot imagine. I did cold calls when I just came to Canada and to find mentors and to do information interviews. And oh my God, it just like opened up a lot of stuff for me that as an immigrant, I had no idea about. So do that. Cold call people. You cannot believe how kind they can be and how dispensable. So just do that. Trust it. I did like mock cold interviews with friends and, just to get over this fear of, oh my God, I'm taking like this guru's time, whatever. So do that, talk with them, be friendly, and really ask the question that, I want to get into this. How do I really do it? And that's where I want to go. Like, be very, very crystal clear about like where you want to go. Because at least in my industry, there were many, many ways I could go with this. And I just found one thing and I trusted and I went with it. I didn't know there was other stuff that could potentially be my choice. So I didn't know any other option. I just had one. And I'm happy that I did it. And I still am in security. So at least that was good. But I really suggest that, be clear about your options. Because, when you come out of school, there's still like so many, 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 many options in anything that you studied one thing, but there are so many things you can do with that. So just know your options and know where you want to go with it and find right mentors and, and give it some really good thoughts before you start it.
Great words of advice, Adele. I think that it's so important to find where you want to go and have some idea of that direction, and then work with, like you said, networking and mentoring to help you find that pathway to success. I love it. This has been an amazing journey. I've learned so much about security, and I thought I knew something, but I guess I don't know enough. I think it's probably a black hole of still things I still need to learn more of, but it's been great. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adele. Thank you for joining us.
To all entrepreneurs and managers out there, we have ambitious students here at UCW who would love to hear from you and help you with your business through our internship, our capstone program. If you think you have a wonderful story or a challenge that you want to share with our students and our audience that you think they can benefit from, we want to hear from you. We want that information. We want you to be a part of this show. We also want you to join our mentorship program. We've got a great mentorship program to help students as they move on their educational journey towards getting into a career or launching a new opportunity. So reach out to us, connect with us at www.ucanwest.ca/Innovation Fuel.
You have just listened to the Innovation Fuel podcast with your hosts, Dave and Gellere. Subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Google, or Spotify. Join us next week for another innovative story. Thank you for listening and have a great week.